friends, in this video I am going to discuss in detail the famous excerpt essay by Ngugi wa thiong'O's The Language of African Literature. The Language of African Literature is an excerpt from Ngugi wa thiong'O's epoch-making work Decolonizing the Mind, which was published in the year 1986. And you all know, decolonizing the mind itself is a major critical theory in African writing. At the same time, it changed the discourse of post-colonial understanding. So what is the main idea of decolonizing the mind? Let me put it in one sentence, then I will give you a detailed introduction and analysis of the essay, The Language of African Literature. By the term decolonizing the mind, thiong'O means our mind has broadly been captured by the white colonizers, and as a result, after the removal of the colonial forces from the colonies, we still lack to retain the legacies left by the colonial masters, and as a result, we are mentally colonized, and psychologically, this colonization is deep rooted, and as a result, we are unable to decolonialize our plundered past. So, decolonizing the mind itself is a very important concept which talks about psychological colonization, where after being colonized by a nation for so many years or so many decades, the colonized country, its people, they have lost their ability to return to their own psychological strength or own psychological space. For instance, the British people, they have left India almost 250 years ago, and still English has always been used as the official medium of instruction. We prefer Western dresses, Western culture, etc. So this is an example of decolonizing the mind. It has its pros and cons, but I am not going to focus on it. Just for your understanding, I am giving you the reference. So let me talk about the essay, The Language of African Literature, which is an excerpt apart from the book Decolonizing the Mind by Ngugi wa thiong'O. Decolonizing the African mind itself is an important theoretical and critical agenda which wa thiong'O takes onto himself. And in the essay, The Language of African Literature, he talks about the importance of language. What is language? He imposes the idea that language is not only something for verbal communication, but language means beyond that. Language is not only for verbal communication, it carries a lot of socio-cultural baggages, emotional baggage. At the same time, it is a distinctive marker of your belonging, of your identity, of your nationality. Therefore, when someone is robbing you of your language, this is the example of linguistic colonization. So, language is the medium of empowerment, language is the method of your power, language is the method through which you will be able to assert your identity. So, with language, the concept of identity, concept of power, and concept of your status as an independent citizen of a nation is integrally related. So the essay is very short. It is three pages roughly. If you read the essay very carefully, he talks about the initial days of Africa when he was a child and he grew up in a household which was populated with 28 family members. And in a family, in an extended family, as he grew up in an extended family, he learned the local language, his own language, and it has always been the medium of communication among his fellow beings. And during his childhood days, he retained his fond memories of this local language, Kaiku. Later, when he was admitted in a school, for the first 2-3 years in a school, the Gaku was also the method of instruction. As a language, he never felt he was linguistically challenged or linguistically colonized. But the sudden transformation of power in Africa caused the shift in power politics, and as a result, the British British people, they have taken charge of the continent, and as a result, the entire school education system was revamped and redesigned. As an effort, the British heads, the British people, they headed the educational departments of the schools, and as a result, they introduced English as a method of important school related instruction and education. And what is more alarming is that he gave example from two cases within the school premises or within the vicinity of the school. If anyone is supposed to speak in his native tongue, which is Gaikyu, that person is punished. It was physical punishment, and also sometimes the person was forced to wear a plate where he is writing in his own hand the inscription, I'm a donkey or I'm a fool. So the language, and how the language has always become a method of control, power, politics, and victimizing people. It has, I'm sorry to use the word beautiful, it should be, it has been pathetically used by the example of how for using his own native tongue the child is punished. And on the other hand, if you are planning to apply your newly learned British vocabulary, English, etc., you will be rewarded. So English has always been synonymous with power, reputation, fame, name, and proximity. On the other hand, whatever the local languages, indigenous languages were existed before the arrival of the British, those languages were silenced, and the stigma, the shame, the minimal position, the minority position of the languages have attributed on them, and as a result, the introduction of the foreigner's language onto the African land, onto the people of Africa, caused a serious method of linguistic colonization. And language is the method of your own expression. If you are not allowed to speak in your own mother tongue, then you are linguistically colonized. Your power has been curtailed, your identity has been curtailed, and as a result, in your own land, you have been transformed into a puppet whose very voice of protest, very voice of language has been robbed from you. So, as a result, in the entire essay, he talks about the concept of linguistic colonization, which happened in his Africa, and how the linguistic colonization affected people, and as a result, it further impacted the process of colonizing the mind, and as a result, the colonized people in various parts of the globe, they have always been under the enormous pressure of imitating the British, imitating their British master, and as a result, it has become an important linguistic document where he talks about the awareness which people must have in order to understand language is intricately related with their identity, with their selfhood, and with their power. So they cannot let go of their mother tongue, they cannot let go of their language. If you are being robbed of your language, it means you are being robbed of your power, of your selfhood, of your identity. So language is here not only a simple verbal method of information exchange. Far from being a verbal method of information exchange or communication, language here has been transformed into an important socio-cultural political tool which is attuned with one's identity, with one's selfhood. At the same time, language is very important criteria based on which you can consider yourself as an empowered person or a victim. So here he talks about, from the post-colonial lens, very important poignant understanding of language, and he talks about the necessity to focus on the indigenous languages, because as a citizen of the country, you have every right to hold on to your mother tongue. And if the master, if the colonizer is not allowing you to do so, it is your turn to dismantle the colonial structure. So in the entire essay, though he talks about the powerful theory of decolonizing the mind through the power of exercising your own language, He gives us the clear message that decolonization of the mind will only take place when you will be able to decolonize your language, when you will be free from the burden, from the legacy of the colonial language, and you will be able to apply your own native language, own mother tongue. Then only you will be able to move one step forward to the desired goal of decolonizing the mind from the colonial masters. I hope this analysis will be helpful for you to understand the essay further. So if you like the video, please do like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please follow me for more similar updates. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.